Number 5. Hush. Still relatively a new villain, Hush first appeared in Batman number 601 and was introduced as a stalker to Batman, who was also creating a master plan to destroy both Batman and Bruce Wayne. Though in the comic many others dressed up as Hush, the real Hush was Dr. Thomas Elliot, a famous surgeon and former childhood friend of Bruce Wayne. Hush is one of my favorite Batman comics, and it is an excellent detective story, and it really showcases the pure hatred that Elliot has for Bruce, and the lengths he's willing to go to ultimately ruin him. If I had a complaint, I'd say that his reasoning for hating Bruce didn't make a lot of sense to me, though. Elliot wanted to kill his parents in order to gain their fortune. He succeeded in having his father die in a car crash, but Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, was able to save Elliot's mother. So why does Elliot blame Bruce? That's a minor complaint, though. Other than that, the design of the character is really cool. A bandaged face, trench coat, and armed with 2 pistols. Hush definitely makes the cut at number 5 on the list. Number 4. Bane. Yes, Bane's popularity is indeed rising after The Dark Knight Rises came out. He made his first appearance in Batman Vengeance of Bane number 1. His real name unknown, Bane was imprisoned since birth to serve his father's crimes. He learned to reach physical perfection and read as many books as possible to become super intelligent. He was then selected to be a part of another scientific experiment, which was to increase his strength. The experiment worked, but Bane escaped and made his way to Gotham, where he was determined to prove his might by taking down Batman, which he succeeded in doing. Yes, in the story arc Nightfall, Bane crafts a master plan to release all the inmates from Arkham, forcing a tired and sick Batman to recapture them all. When Batman returns home, he finds Bane at Wayne Manor, figuring out that Bruce is Batman. He beats Batman to a pulp, and then he famously breaks Batman's back. I guess the lesson here is that you should never judge a book by its cover. Before reading Nightfall and watching the animated series, I first assumed that Bane was just a smart thug, but I had no idea he was a genius barbarian. Maybe Joel Schumacher should have read Nightfall too. He is a perfect villain for Batman to match wits with, and is almost superior to Batman when it comes to strength. He doesn't even need weapons, he just uses his bare hands! That is why Bane smashes in at number 4. Number 3. Ra's al Ghul. Appearing in Batman number 232, Ra's al Ghul is revealed to be roughly 700 years old. The reason for this is because of the rejuvenating Lazarus Pit. He wants to restore balance to the world, which is not a bad thing. Although he is an eco-terrorist whose plan is to ultimately wipe out the entire human population. But that's all. Like others mentioned on the list, he was smart enough to figure out Batman's identity. This is getting a tad bit annoying, don't you think? If Clark Kent can fool half the population with the whole glasses thing, how can half of Batman's villains figure out who Batman is? Never mind, I'm getting off topic again. Unlike other villains who want to destroy Bruce Wayne, Ra's believes Batman to be not only equal, but sees him as a successor to his legacy. Batman would gain everything by joining Ra's, wiping out crime, bringing order, and also finding someone who loves him. By that I mean Talia, who is Ra's daughter. Batman and Talia have had a complicated relationship, and it has been very hard for Talia to choose to side with either her father or Batman. I believe what is so cool about Ra's is that even though he knows who Batman is, and that he could possibly defeat him, Ra's will not initially kill Batman because he respects the Dark Knight. That honor puts Ra's at number 3. Number 2. Two-Face. Hey, that's fitting! 2 for Two-Face! Two-Face first appears in Detective Comics number 66 as District Attorney Harvey Kent, later renamed Harvey Dent. Harvey had an alliance with Batman and Jim Gordon, determined to bring down the crime families in Gotham. One mob boss is put on trial, and while Harvey cross-examines him, the mob boss throws a vial of acid at half Harvey's face, disfiguring him. So, what, it's just him going crazy because of that? Well, yes and no. That was the original concept for Two-Face in his initial appearance, but his history and psychological issues are brought to light in the comic Long Halloween. Harvey had an abusive father who would beat him based on the flip of a coin. If it came up heads, Harvey would get beaten, and if it came up tails, Harvey was spared. As a child, Harvey was always beaten, but years later he finds his father's coin and learns that it is double-sided. Heads on both sides. Harvey also has fits of anger and a distrust of the cops in Gotham. More sympathy is given to Harvey when we learn that he even had a wife. What makes his whole origin even more tragic, however, is that he was once a good person. He was on the side of the law, and an ally and friend to both Batman and Gordon. Now, he has become the very thing he has previously fought against. As Two-Face, he wears a suit with two colors, uses two pistols, but is best known for making decisions with his father's coin. He literally needs the coin to make every decision. Harvey Two-Face Dent is not just a terrific villain, but he's also a terrific character, and that is why he is the second best Batman villain. G. Number 1. Which is the best villain? Who is Batman's greatest enemy? Who could it possibly be? Let's get it over with. Number 1. Killer Moth. Killer Moth first appeared in... Wait a minute. Killer Moth? Oh! My mistake. Killer Moth was number 1 on the most pathetic of the Batman villains list. My mistake, sorry. No. The real number 1 is the Joker. The Clown Prince of Crime appeared in Batman number 1 as a homicidal clown in a purple suit who enjoyed killing people and had an insane sense of humor. Initially, he had no origin, and for the most part, he still has no origin. The basic origin that people accept was that he was a criminal known as the Red Hood who fell into a vat of chemicals and gained chalk white skin, ruby red lips, and green hair. There have been variations on the story, the most well-cited one being The Killing Joke, which is my favorite comic book of all time. The comic presents the notion that the Joker can't remember his past, and that he is constantly recreating it. In The Killing Joke, it is suggested that he was a chemical engineer who quits his job and becomes a comedian, only to fail. He needs money to support his pregnant wife, so he agrees to help 2 criminals break into the chemical plant that he worked at. The man is given the Red Hood as a disguise, not knowing the criminals are using him as a scapegoat. Unfortunately, his wife dies, and the man tries to get out of the deal, only to be forced by the criminals. One thing leads to another, and after his encounter with Batman and his dip into the chemicals, he's driven insane. This is the story that most fans like to consider to be the true origin, but we'll probably never know. What makes Joker so perfect is that he is the exact opposite of Batman. The Joker is colorful and cheerful, while Batman is dark and serious. The Joker takes great joy in killing people, both hostages and his own henchmen sometimes. He crippled Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, and killed Jason Todd, the second Robin, and Commissioner Gordon's wife. He has a variety of comedic yet deadly weapons, an acid-squirting flower, a shocking joy buzzer, a bang gun, and more. The relationship between Batman and the Joker is a fascinating one also. It's a fair assumption to say that Joker wants Batman to kill him, so Batman will end up becoming no better than him. Another thing interesting about the relationship is that it is never clear if the Joker really wants to kill Batman or not. Sometimes he will go to deadly lengths to kill him, other times he lets him live. There are at least 2 comics where Joker thinks Batman is dead, and as a result he either goes sane or becomes catatonic. I guess what that really means is that the Joker's one true motivation to be who he is because of Batman's existence. As long as Batman fights to bring order and justice, the Joker will always be there to challenge him and bring crime, chaos, and misery to both Batman and the world. What's really sad about it is that Batman pretty much created his own worst enemy. In Arkham City, Hugo Strange puts it best when he says that the Joker would not exist if it were not for Batman. That is a key reason for why the Joker is so popular. He is Batman's fault, and therefore he is Batman's responsibility. Their story is like Frankenstein and his monster, or Prometheus and the human race. As long as one exists, so shall the other. All these reasons and more are why I believe that the Joker is the best Batman villain. There is my list on the top 10 favorite Batman villains. I hope you enjoyed it. Was there anyone I left out? Do you agree, disagree? Anything you would have added? Comments, people. Comments. Sorry, we didn't have a little movie review, but okay, this was still fun. So, thank you very much. This was an O.M.M review. This is O.M.M, signing out. You have anything else to say, Basement Batman? Okay.